Hello, my name is John Davidson, and I'm a math professor at a small community college in Ohio. And whether you're taking this class from me as an online class or you just ran into this on YouTube, this is the content of this series is going to be kind of traditional college level trigonometry. And in a college level trigonometry, you study trigonometry from both the triangle aspect and the circular aspect. So we define the trig functions, sine, cosine, and tangent, and there's three others. We initially define them in terms of right triangles, and then later we can expand that to other kinds of triangles rather than right triangles. But there's also a definition for these trig functions related to circles, called circular trigonometry. With circular trigonometry, you get into wave patterns, like sine waves, and it's this very interesting applications there. In the traditional old style trigonometry, you're relating angles of triangles to sides. And so this angle, for example, Greek letter theta, is related to the ratio of two sides in different ways. And so you learn that and apply that. All right, other things we talk about in trigonometry are we analyze complex numbers. Complex numbers are two-dimensional numbers. With two dimensions comes geometry and also trigonometry. So some really nice things we can do with complex numbers. We study vectors. That's an application very related to complex numbers, actually, in two dimensions. And at the end of this video series, we'll also go into something that's not trigonometry. We'll look at the conic sections, parabolas, ellipses, and hyperbolas. And that's a part of a lot of trigonometry courses, but not every trigonometry course covers that. Sometimes they'll do that in a college algebra. Anyway, I'll include it in this series. So, as far as trigonometry, its derivation is Greek. It was the Greeks who actually it was Hipparchus. Hipparchus was the so-called father of trigonometry. Hipparchus, and if I was have my chops in place, I could write that in Greek letters. I can get most of them, but anyway, I'm a little rusty at a few letters there in Greek. But Hipparchus, and I can't remember his dates. 200 AD. I'm not sure. I'm not sure when he lived. And but anyway, it was way back. I don't know if he came up with the term trigonometry, but it has kind of a Greek derivation. Tri for three, and metric is a measurement. So it's something, I'm not sure what this part has to do with it, but something to do with the measurement of triangles. Okay, that's where that word comes from. So anyway, I once had a student ask me, was Hipparchus a student of Euclid? Euclid was the father of geometry. And it's kind of too bad that Euclid didn't know about trigonometry. But no, to my knowledge, they had nothing to do with each other. I think one probably lived, this one probably lived quite a bit after Euclid. But anyway, Hipparchus did get the ball rolling as far as analyzing angles and triangles, these relationships. And probably was rather limited in what he could do with that because, we think of angles as being 360 degrees in a triangle, for example. And so what is the sine of 37 degrees? Hipparchus would have probably been kind of lost on that question. Because back in ancient Greece, they didn't have decimals. They also didn't have calculus. Calculus gives us techniques of calculating trig functions. So anyway, it's a long story which I'm going to develop. Now, I like to toss in some history as I go along here, particularly in the early part of our series. And at some point I'll do some stuff on music and acoustics, which are quite related to trigonometry. I have a piano right in my room here. This is my room at my house, and there's a piano sitting right over there. And so I'll hope to demonstrate a few things with you, for you, with trigonometry and music. And okay, so it's to me the fun really starts with trigonometry, because this is where about everything you do in trigonometry has a relationship to the real world in a very tangible way. In other words, we can solve real problems with this. We can do some of that in algebra, but not a whole lot. You know, a lot of algebra word problems, if you look at it and think, well, that's not very practical. Why would I ever do this? And you know, the purpose of algebra word problems is to get you thinking about how to apply mathematics. And but in trigonometry, about all our applications are very realistic or useful somewhere. So to me, this is where the fun really begins. And we're laying a groundwork between this and a college algebra course together. This makes up pre-calculus. And so some colleges have a pre-calculus class where they combine all this together. My college separates it into college algebra and trigonometry, two separate classes. Together it's kind of a big pre-calculus, get you really ready for calculus. So, okay, so let's get started. Get started with a discussion of angles and how we measure angles.